Folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your brains coach, and it is my job here to bring to you the best brain body tools so you could take control and optimize that thing between your ears, the most sophisticated computer in the entire universe, your brain, so you could get after things that are meaningful and important to you in your life, so you could achieve your goals and you could feel, look, and do your absolute best. Folks, I'm very excited today because we're going to be talking about this very common problem in our society, and a lot of us are experiencing this emotion and we don't know how to deal with that. And so today I'm very excited to bring this very specific, very effective science-based toolkit so you could deal with this emotion that might be stopping you in your tracks, your forward momentum towards your goals very, very often. And it has so many different flavors and colors. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about anxiety. So recently I finished this book, Good Anxiety, Harnessing the Power of the Most Misunderstood Emotion by Dr. Wendy Suzuki from the University of New York. She has her own lab there. The subtitle, 40 Strategies to Make Anxiety Work for You. And I don't know if I'm going to give you all 40 strategies, but I compiled this toolkit that will help you to deal with any sort of anxiety. And anxiety, I think, is complicated because it has so many different flavors and colors, and we experience it in so many different ways. So the first thing about anxiety that you want to explore is that when do you get anxious? That's where the book actually starts. It starts the practical part of the book with those questions and tests to help you explore your own anxiety to be able to deal with that, because it's very hard to deal with something that you are vaguely aware of. So in the book, what we are prompted to understand is when do we get anxious, right? What situations make us anxious, and how it feels to be anxious. When you feel you are anxious, what does it actually mean? What do you feel? And the next important aspect of anxiety is, what do you usually tend to do with it? And I think the most important thing here is to understand whether these strategies work for you, meaning they move your life into a positive direction, short and long term, or these strategies are maladaptive and they kind of take the pain off, but then they move your life either in circles or in the negative downward spiral, right? So I'm going to give you a personal example. So I used to deal with my emotions with food, and not the best kind of foods, but sweets and chocolates and just overeating. So I would experience difficult emotion. I didn't know how to feel with it. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't even have the name for it. And what I would do is naturally try to change my state. And for me, because of my childhood, how things were in my family, or what kind of what habits I developed, for me it was getting food. And I would eat, sweets and different kinds of foods, and I would feel better. And for the moment, it would take this itch off. But I did not deal with my actual emotions and the things that were causing them. So that is an example of maladaptive strategy. And then I learned that I actually can move differently, I can breathe differently, I can ask myself different questions to direct my mind, I can change my focus, I can distract myself, I can listen to music, to different inspirational talks, and there are so many ways to change our state besides the food that was not working for my long-term goals of health, fitness, and overall well-being. So I practiced, and then the habit of eating when I felt emotional just fell off, and I don't ever experience the need to eat when I feel a uncomfortable emotion. So now the book goes into a lot of different strategies and aspects of anxiety, of dealing with different negative emotions. But where we want to start with our negative emotions, anxiety included, is we want to learn how to sit with uncomfortable emotions. So this is the first skill that we all need to practice and master, and that's what I had to do. At some point I had to realize that not every itch has to be scratched. I heard it from Tim Ferriss, and he probably heard it from somewhere else, but the point is, you can feel the uncomfortable emotion, you can feel the itch, and you don't have to scratch it, and you'll be just fine. It will subside, it will get smaller and smaller, and more often than not will go away completely. And then in an unemotional state, in a balanced, in a more in a more sometimes even positive state, you can deal with that emotion more proactively. And what also science tells us that our conscious brain, our prefrontal cortex, the most logical decision maker in our brain, that part actually works the best when we are in a relaxed, non-stressed state. And that is usually not when we are emotionally charged, especially in a negative way, stressed or anxious. So you really want to give that prefrontal cortex time to respond in a way that works for your life, short and long term, right? And that's why you need to be able to stop and feel that emotion and be okay with not feeling okay, and realize that there is actually nothing bad or something life-threatening. You can feel that emotion, do nothing, and still survive, even though it is uncomfortable. It's like that itch, you have to scratch it. Well, you don't have to. You can actually do absolutely nothing. And once that subsides, then you make a decision and, deal with life in a better way. What also helps, and this is the most effective, the fastest acting strategy to change your state immediately, you also have to start practicing breath work. The most effective ways to deal with anxiety and different negative emotions and stressors seem to be, at least for now, physiological sigh. That is double inhale, and that sounds like this. And long exhale. So double inhale, and the second inhale is very short, and then longer exhale. And you do that 3 times. And Huberman says that's enough. And that's what I heard from other scientists. 3-6 times is enough for 3-6 breath cycles. And your state is going to be switched from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic. All it means you're not anymore in a fight flight, but more in a rest and digest. And that's where your prefrontal cortex does its best job, right? So you feel your negative emotion. First, realize you're feeling it, and you're not gonna die. Nothing gonna happen. Usually you don't have to do anything at all about it right now. You can just breathe. So you breathe, and that changes your state more often than not. And then you can take a different direction. You can make a different choice. So just sitting with it and breathing, it's an immensely effective skill, and it will solve, if not all of the problems as it did for me, then most of them. Then another one, after you did this breath work, change your focus. Maybe there is nothing else you can do about the situation right now. So you gotta switch your focus and to anything else. You can call your friend, you can go for a walk. It's actually a very powerful way to reduce your anxiety, switching your environment. So literally taking yourself out of the context that triggered anxiety and somewhere else. Nature, walking in the park or along a seaside, just just being outside in a different environment, it doesn't even have to be nature, already works because it eliminates the triggers and the surrounding that were reminding or triggering that anxiety. So get yourself into a different place that switches your focus immediately, but also just switching your focus to something else. I don't know, cooking, playing music, doing some work, taking a bath, doing some cleaning. Actually, for me, cleaning the apartment helps a lot. When I start thinking about in an unproductive way and worrying about too many things, I'm like, let me clean it all out. It will, feel like structure and control. So switching your focus, doing something else is an amazing strategy to take your mind off it and wait till your emotions settle down and, your brain has the time to think about the best solution, and then you respond in a completely different way. Then in your free time, you have to think about your regular anxiety triggers, and you need to think about where do they come from. Like for me, for example, financial insecurity and feeling lonely, not among my peers, that triggers anxiety. But what I realized that number one, it comes from my childhood, my family history, and number two, it's actually not always bad at all. Just because I'm triggered and I'm feeling anxious about it, the situation itself is not bad. It's because of my experience, the evaluation of it is bad. So if I feel like at the moment I'm not surrounded by people that I connect well, there is nothing like life-threatening about it. I can actually be proactive about building a circle of like-minded people and realizing that it is much better for me to be in the environment surrounded by those people and put actions into building that environment, right? So now I know where this comes from, like my childhood, certain things happened, and I don't have to feel negative about it. I can just start building things that make me feel good today. With financial security, again, you can realize I'm actually quite lucky. I have a lot more opportunities than a lot more other people, and just because I'm not making the exact money that I planned for, it doesn't mean that I have to be stressed about it. And then also, again, switching that anxiety in a more proactive mode. I'm like, okay, and then also I have these skills and those skills and those skills. I can provide value and sell and provide services in that many areas. And then if I'm, think that I'm inadequate in some area, I can improve. And once you start planning and taking action, that anxiety goes away. And that's another thing that you want to understand. And especially if you pick up the book, you'll notice that this proactive mindset, that very often all it takes also to switch, to flip that anxiety from a negative thing to a motivation to take action and ultimately to feel in control, to feel powerful, to feel motivated, and ultimately changing your life. So all back to the idea, you want to understand where your anxiety comes from. Is it really a good idea, or does it really make sense to keep that emotion negative in your current life? Like, doesn't make sense. Or you can listen to it and build up certain things and take certain actions, and then just leave that memory not as emotionally charged. Once you reframe it, then it doesn't feel that bad. I'm like, well, that happened. Life happens. It doesn't necessarily was for the bad. It might shape my life in a good direction. And then you take this negative tint on, you take off those, blue tinted glasses, and you put the ones that are neutral and start building your life that makes you happy. Now, let's get to more strategies how to deal with anxiety. Let's start with the body. We already started with breath work. Again, it's the fastest, the most effective way to change your state immediately, available to you anywhere in any situation. But then after that, you want to remember that a lot of anxiety is triggered by things that are happening in your physical body. If you don't sleep well enough, even not one night of bad sleep will create more anxious state of mind. That's what research shows shows in every single person. So if your sleep is not good, then you have to deal with that sleep. A lot of your anxiety comes from that. If you consume alcohol, especially before sleep, don't be surprised that that's going to make your mental health much worse. If you sleep on irregular schedule, not inappropriate for a human being hours, that will trigger anxiety as well. So just be aware of that. Now, exercise. Exercise is one of the most powerful stimulus to change your brain-body chemistry. It changes the amount of dopamine, of serotonin, of GABA. It changes, blood flow towards your brain and all of your organs and all of your tissues. There is a whole chemical, laboratory or experiment happening every time you exercise. But what you want to understand, we don't need to know all of these reactions. We just need to know that people who exercise, every bout of exercise, will put you in a more proactive, in a more positive, motivated, energized state of mind, and that actually will be lasting. And the more you do exercise, meaning you exercise regularly every day, the more this effect lasts, to the point that you'll change your personality and you might never ever have this kind of anxiety ever, because you started to exercise every day. So movement anxiety, it's a huge game changer for your brain and anxious thoughts. Now let's talk about something that is physical, but also relates to your brain, to your mind. Olfactory, your sense of smell. Did you know, for example, that your sense of smell actually has this fast connection to your hippocampus, that is the memory center in your brain. And there are many, many smells that will trigger certain memories in a very powerful way. To give you a better idea, a personal example. When I was a kid, we used to go every summer to my grandma's farm, and she used to cook these amazing pastries that in her wooden oven, very, very, very traditional way. And the smell of this freshly baked pastries of specific kind, I still remember it. And now every time I pass a pastry shop and I smell this, it triggers this memory immediately, like me roaming free out on the farm with animals and nature and chasing butterflies, and it's just such a sweet and freedom-filled memory, and I have it in my head every time I smell this. And just thinking about the smell makes me remember this memory. So I am sure you can think of a lot of memories like that. The thing is, you can manufacture those anchors so you can bring more joy and peace to, instead of anxiety, for example, when you need it. So Wendy Suzuki, the author of the book Good Anxiety, she brought up this example that she once went to this yoga retreat, and in one class or many classes, the instructor, after the class, when she was in that relaxed state, and once the instructor actually gave her a neck massage, and at the same time there was this smell of lavender. And so now every time she needs to feel this level of relaxation, she just she got herself lavender essential oil, and every time she needs to feel that relaxed, she just smells that lavender oil. And it works like magic, bringing that memory and relaxed state right that moment. Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, the movie was based on him. Actually, in his sales course, he had this thing to trigger powerful, empowered state to do sales well. He had this thing that he recommended people to do. To again grab some essential oil. I think he had some maybe orange or something else, I don't know. But when you are in this powerful state, for example, you just close the sale, smell it, and do it again and again and again. And after a while, just by smelling this specific smell, would trigger this empowered state of winning. So it's been known in neuroscience for many, years that happens. So you can manufacture feeling good by anchoring certain smells to certain events in your life that produce positive emotions. And then you can use it whenever you feel anxious or, stressed. You can just use the smell to trigger that state and emotion. How cool is that? I don't know if you knew that, but I think those kind of powerful tools that are rooted in your biology are very, they're very effective, and it's just amazing that we have them in our toolkit. Now you just know of them, and now it's your job to use them. Now let's get to flow states and hobbies and feeling present. That's another toolkit that you can use to change your feelings of anxiety and perhaps other uncomfortable emotions on a regular basis. So doing hobbies where you are present, and when you progress improving or creating something as a finished product, like for me it was cross stitching. I love doing all kinds of handcrafts. So that, number one, makes you present. And they did this research asking people, when do people feel the happiest? And across the board, people feel the most happy, the happiest when they were the most present. So whatever you can do that keeps you in the present moment, that engages all of your senses, that actually makes you feel very happy consistently. So that's why have a hobby, be present. So that helps to manage anxiety or other uncomfortable feelings. And then also what hobbies help you to do is they give you the sense of progress, of accomplishment. They stimulate dopamine release. You start feeling like you're growing, like you're mastering something, like your life has progression and meaning. And that is also anti-anxiety tool that will make you feel confident, hopeful, that your life has meaning, and a lot of other positive emotions, but not anxiety or worrying about your future or ruminating about your past, right? So get a hobby. That's a powerful tool. Now let's talk more about cognitive tools, either talking to yourself differently or writing things down. And let's start with writing things down. Research actually showed very consistently that by writing your worries, the things that trigger your anxiety, by writing them down, not even doing anything about them, that helps to lower stress levels and release your anxiety. Why does it work? Well, they think that when we write things down, we transfer the subconscious and negative emotions that our brain body trying to communicate to us from, again, the subconscious part of our brain to our prefrontal cortex. We write them down. We are consciously aware of them. We acknowledge them. And our prefrontal cortex is actually much less emotionally charged. And so when you transfer the awareness of certain negative triggers into there by writing them down, when you make the unconscious conscious, you actually lower your emotional charge and relieve your stress, lower your stress level. So by writing things down, that's why journaling actually works. You just write things down and you're not worried about them. You're just aware of those things without emotional charge. Now, other cognitive tools that you can do in writing or you can do just in your mind also are very effective to help you deal with anxiety and to remove anxiety or lower anxiety, daily anxiety that you experience. Tool number one is reframing things and putting your focus on a more positive side of things. Folks, realize that every single event in our life, most of the time, it has two sides. It has a more negative side. It has a more positive side. Now it started to rain outside. I can think, it ruined a lot of my plans going outside and doing things with my friends. But on the flip side, now I feel more productive and I can actually work on this side project that I never seem to have time for, right? Now I'm actually looking forward to this rainy weather. That's what actually I tell myself, and it actually worked. I feel the most productive when it's raining. The mind and self, talk is very, very powerful. in any case, I lost my business this year. Was it this year? Yeah. It was last year actually. And first, of course, was negative reaction, but then I thought, well, it actually freeing me from all the other obligations and older systems that were holding me back and down, didn't allow me to transition to my new area of business, or where I'm actually most passionate about. And I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be challenging, but actually helping me long term. And again, it's not about closing your eyes to the negative side. It just understanding that there is also a positive side that might be even bigger than you realized at the moment while worrying about the negative side. So this reframing skill is very, very powerful and correlated with people's well-being. Understand you have control of your focus. Tony Robbins has a lot of sayings about like change your focus, change your life, change your state, change your life. And it all has to do with where you focus on. And that changes your thoughts, your emotions, and the actions and direction of your life. Now, the second tool is transforming negative self-talk into action. Let's say you didn't get a job, you didn't get a client. So instead of focusing on, well, I'm not that great, I wasn't able to do that, you start asking yourself questions and taking action. What can I do to increase my chances of getting the next client, on getting the next sale, on the next sales call? And what did I learn from this last experience? What can I do better? Right? You write it down, you make it into positive experience, into learning experience, and you start taking action based on that feedback from life. Every single failure, quote unquote, is moving you towards your ultimate goal. Don't forget about that, folks. It is true if you use it. So change negative self-talk and experiences into positive, forward moving action. Anxiety, use it to amplify your productivity. How so? If you at some point start thinking to yourself, well, what if this happens? What if I don't close this sale? What if this project I'm working on fails? What if the partnership that I'm hoping for doesn't work out? What if this, what if I don't know, miss my flight, etc. So you have all these thoughts, and now let's say, what if I don't close this sale? You can actually then ask yourself, what if I do close this sale? What has to happen? What do I need to do to make this outcome the best outcome to most probably to happen? And then you start actions, you start getting productive. Okay, I want to close 10 sales in the next 2 weeks. What do I need to do to make this happen? The best possible scenario. What do I have to do? What skills do I need to work on? Who do I need to get in touch with? Who do I need to partner with, right? And so what if you transform it into the best case scenario and start taking action that move you towards that best case scenario? And that's about it, folks. So we change our focus, like looking at the positive side of things. We transform negative self-talk into positive action that move you towards your ultimate goal. You use your what ifs to amplify your productivity and create the best case scenarios. A few other things that work amazingly well for changing your brain chemistry and lowering your anxiety by increasing oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, all these neurotransmitters or brain molecules that neurons use to communicate between each other. So some things that change that balance in a positive way. Massage, getting massages, create a whole bunch of new molecules positively affecting your state closer to satisfaction, feeling good. So getting massages, a huge oxytocin booster. Hug It Out, also about oxytocin, also will make you feel much better and not anxious. So if you can hug a friend, hug a parent, hug yourself also works. Just, hug yourself and say that you love yourself and you'll figure it out and you are awesome. So that works. Laugh it out, watching comedy, stand-up comedy, just thinking in all the, about all the fun things that are happening in your life and all of the humor of bad things happening, and just deciding to be positive about whatever comes into your life, right? So laugh it out, and also just smiling like I do right now talking to my microphone also lowers stress, physiological stress levels, and changes your perspective, your state, your thoughts, your emotions, everything. Just putting, even if it's a fake smile, it actually triggers certain physiological changes in you that help you to improve your stress, your anxiety, and feel better about your life in general. And that again, change your state, change your life. Your positive state, physiological state changes your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and they change your life. That's it, folks. I hope you learned a lot more strategies about how to deal with anxiety, how to transform it, and why it is actually quite a good emotion that shows you what things you need to take care in your life, things that you need to pay attention to. And this anxiety also shows you the opportunities for growth. All the negative emotions actually are opportunities for growth, showing you where you need to pay attention, where things might not be working the way you want them to work. And, just realize you have a choice to to change your perspective, to change your actions, to change your environment, people you surround yourself with, where you live or you spend most of your time. And also realize feeling negative emotions not going to kill you. You're going to feel them, be okay, and do something about them. So you are in control, and anxiety is actually good for you. You just need to take it and use it to create different circumstances in your life and get closer to the outcomes that you want. Pick up the book, Good Anxiety, Harnessing the Power of the Most Misunderstood Emotion by Dr. Wendy Suzuki from the University of New York. 40 strategies to make anxiety work for you. So pick this up, re-listen to this episode, and also share these strategies and practice these strategies with friends, with your boyfriends and girlfriends, with your spouses, with your friends, so we all can do better in life. And so we all create better life experience for each other. That's the purpose. And folks, don't forget to share, again, to help everyone to do better, create the better world for all of us. So please do share, review our podcast on any platform that you listen it on. And stay tuned for the episode on Friday with the PhD of nutrition. Some fascinating things you're going to hear about brain, nutrition, nutrients, foods that you're not going to hear on any other podcast. So share, review us, and stay tuned on Friday. And thank you, folks, for attention, for listening, and I'll talk to you very soon.